Hello, and welcome to Overlooked Headlines. We're the podcast designed to share headlines from America and around the world that have been disregarded or overlooked, but are critical to our lives and well-being. It's our mission to inform with the headlines and then inspire through biblical words, which we call His Lines, that once heard and applied will help to strengthen our faith in God as we navigate this journey called life. Now, here's the host of Overlooked Headlines, Jeff Bass.
Welcome again to another episode of Overlooked Headlines. I'm Jeff Bass. First, let me thank you for your continued support of this podcast. We really appreciate it. Stay connected with us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, hit the notification bell. Please follow us on Instagram, leave your comments, and share. By the way, if you like the content we provide, please click on the Buy Me a Coffee link on the Overlooked Headlines Instagram profile. Now, here's our headline breakdown. Infectious Disease Outbreak Fears at Washington Dulles Airport. Autopsy Study Finds Scars in Hearts of COVID Vaxxed. YouTube being accused of censoring faith-based TV network. And of course, as always, we close with His Lines. Our first headline, Infectious Disease Outbreak Fears at Washington Dulles Airport. Fears over a measles outbreak at Washington Dulles International Airport are emerging after two more passengers recently tested positive for the disease. The pair, who had returned to the U.S. from abroad, arrived at the airport and went to the baggage claim at Concourse A on March 5th between 8 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. Later that same day, a separate measles-infected passenger arrived at the airport's main terminal and went to the baggage claim between 4 and 9 p.m. Officials insisted to dailymail.com that the two events were not linked, but urged everyone who was in the airport on March 5th to monitor themselves for symptoms. The two infected patients also visited Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport on March 14th between 12 p.m. and 2:30 p.m., but this was to go to the shuttle bus terminal, and they did not board a flight. Measles is the most infectious disease known to man, and infected droplets can hang in the air for at least 2 hours after a patient passes, potentially infecting others. It comes amid a major outbreak of the disease in West Texas, where nearly 300 people have tested positive, more than the whole of the U.S. last year. Washington Dulles is the third major airport to be hit by a measles scare this year, after an infected passenger also traveled through New York's JFK last month, and in a separate case, an infected passenger visited LAX in Los Angeles. Officials in Maryland said the two new patients who live in the state's Prince George's County had visited their local Kaiser Permanente hospital 4 times, the Washington Metro, and a Toyota car dealership before measles was diagnosed. It was not clear whether the patients had been vaccinated, what airline they flew on, or what country they returned to the U.S. from. Officials said that they were contacting people on their flight who may have been exposed to the disease. Those who fear they may have come into contact with the passengers are advised to monitor themselves for symptoms for 21 days from the date of exposure. If they develop symptoms which include a fever or blotchy red rash, they are advised to isolate immediately and contact local health services. The vaccine, however, they say is the best way to prevent the infection and is more than 97% effective against the disease. About 60,000 passengers travel through Dulles International Airport every day, which flies to more than 139 destinations around the world. It is the primary airport for the D.C. region. Officials are urging anyone who was in these locations around the same time to monitor themselves for symptoms of the disease, as well as causing a characteristic blotchy red rash that spreads across the body. Measles can also weaken your immune system, triggering other complications like pneumonia, which can be fatal. Data shows that about 3 out of every 1,000 children infected die from the disease. Before the vaccine came in, about 400 to 500 children died from measles in the U.S. every year, while 48,000 were hospitalized and 1,000 suffered from encephalitis, or swelling of the brain. Doctors say the vaccine is the best way to prevent the infection, which is about 97% effective against the disease. Of course, we will monitor this story and keep everyone informed. Now, our second headline. Autopsy Study Finds Scars in Hearts of COVID Vaxxed. 2 of Japan's leading medical researchers have issued a warning after their major autopsy study found that people who died from a sudden cardiac arrest had multiple scars in their hearts caused by COVID mRNA vaccines. The study was conducted by a cardiologist and pathologist in Higashi, Japan. They sought to identify the cause of spikes in unexplained cardiac arrest. The study's paper was published in the journal JACC Case Reports. Alarmingly, the researchers discovered that people who died suddenly after receiving an mRNA injection had multiple micro scars, which is MMS, in and around their hearts. The enigmatic pathological phenomenon was only found in the myocardium of COVID-vaccinated patients who succumbed to unexplained cardiac arrest. The researchers note that these microscopic scars are undetectable by conventional imaging. However, the scarring was evident in post-mortem examinations. They hypothesized that the scars could serve as a novel marker for vaccine-induced heart damage leading to sudden cardiac events. Also, they explained that MMS is likely linked to microvascular inflammation and thrombotic microangiopathy, potentially influenced by contemporary health interventions such as COVID mRNA vaccinations. In the study's paper, Kazumi and Ono present the autopsy findings from 3 patients, 2 elderly women and a middle-aged man. The patients exhibited unexplained cardiac arrest with arrhythmias preceding death. The study meticulously examines their myocardial tissue to delineate microscarring. Additional diagnostic techniques were employed to investigate thrombotic activity. Comparative analysis was performed on other major organs, which were the lungs, kidneys, liver, and skeletal muscle, to ascertain whether the microscarring was exclusive to cardiac tissue. Notably, all patients with the scarring had a history of multiple COVID vaccinations. However, only 1 patient had a documented COVID-19 infection. The study raises the possibility of a direct link between COVID vaccination and MMS. On COVID injections, the authors report an association between arrhythmia and COVID-19 vaccination has been reported recently. A global survey showed that any type of COVID-19 vaccine appears to instigate cardiac arrhythmias, and COVID-19 vaccines may lead to cardiac conduction abnormalities. These mechanisms are speculated to arise from molecular mimicry or spike protein production, an escalated inflammatory response, and the eventual scar and fibrosis. Interestingly, in the present pathologic case study, microscarring was also observed at the junction of the left atrium with the pulmonary artery and high right atrium. In the future, though, they hope to see research that will make it possible to diagnose the pathophysiology of cardiac MMS through cardiac imaging and or blood tests prior to death. Another very interesting headline that we will follow. Stay where you are. I've got more overlooked headlines.
Still to come, our top headline. And don't miss his lines right here on Overlooked Headlines.
Now, here's our top headline. YouTube being accused of censoring faith-based TV network. In a growing controversy, YouTube TV, a popular streaming service owned by Google, has been accused of censoring faith-based and family-friendly programming, specifically targeting the channel The Great American Family. The allegations have sparked outrage among viewers and drawn scrutiny from federal regulators, with FCC Chairman Brendan Carr demanding explanations from Google. Multiple news outlets have reported on the unfolding situation, highlighting concerns over potential discrimination and broader implications for free expression in digital media. The controversy gained traction in early March of this year when complaints surfaced that YouTube TV was restricting access to Great American Family Channel, a network known for its faith-based and family-oriented content. According to a report by Just the News on March 7th, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr received formal complaints alleging that Google's streaming platform was discriminating against this programming. Carr emphasized the seriousness of the claims, noting that they come at a time when he said, quote, American public discourse has experienced an unprecedented and unacceptable surge in censorship, end quote. Great American Family, which has positioned itself as an alternative to mainstream entertainment with its focus on wholesome, faith-driven stories, reportedly faced challenges in maintaining visibility on YouTube TV. CBN News went on to report that on March 19th, that the network's exclusion prompted widespread criticism from viewers who value its content as a counterpoint to secular programming. The network's leadership has asserted that YouTube TV's actions amounted to deliberate censorship of faith-friendly and family-friendly content. Again, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr has taken a proactive stance in response to the allegations. The timing of this controversy has amplified its significance. Posts on X, while not conclusive evidence, reflect a swell of public sentiment accusing YouTube TV of bias against faith-based programming. Users have shared links to articles expressing frustration over what they perceive as an attack on religious values in media. This backlash underscores a broader cultural debate about the influence of big tech on content accessibility. Adding to the narrative, a recent report from an unspecified news outlet highlighted that the FCC's inquiry could set a precedent for how streaming services handle niche or ideologically distinct channels. The article suggested that Great American Family's case might expose inconsistencies in YouTube TV's content creation policies, especially if evidence emerges of selective exclusion. As of March 19, 2025, Google has not publicly responded to the allegations or Carr's request for clarification, according to the latest updates from news sources. This silence has fueled much speculation about the company's intentions, with critics arguing that it reflects a broader pattern of tech firms prioritizing certain viewpoints over others. Without an official statement, the accusations remain unrefuted, leaving room for further investigation. We will keep you informed of any developments concerning this headline. Don't move. His lines are coming up.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode, then we'll think you'll love connecting with us on our social media platforms as well, because we post frequent news bites, tips, and alerts to keep you informed and inspired. Now, let's get back to more overlooked headlines with Jeff Bass.
Now, it's time for His Lines, where we take a closer look at these headlines from a biblical perspective taken from the Bible, which is God's Word. Today, I submit to you that there is an issue of misplaced trust. That's right. Many people have placed their trust in many wrong things. First, some have placed their trust in weapons, such as rifles, bombs, or swords. I'm not saying that you can't own a weapon. What I am saying is don't place your trust in weapons, because in reality, you can't rely on your weapons to truly solve your problems. What do you mean? Well, Psalm 44, verses 6-8 reads, I put no trust in my bow. That's a weapon. My sword, that's a weapon, does not bring me victory. But you give us victory over our enemies. You put our adversaries to shame. In God, we make our boast all day long, and we will praise your name forever. Secondly, don't place your trust in riches. Proverbs 11, verse 28 says, he who trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like foliage. Perhaps you may say, well, that doesn't apply to me. I'm not rich. But even a poor man is placing his trust in riches if he thinks money will solve his problems. In Mark chapter 10, verse 24, Jesus said, children, how hard it is for those who trust in riches to enter the kingdom of heaven. We must place our trust in God, again, not in riches. And finally, do not place your trust in yourself. Only a fool does that. Proverbs 28, 25, and 26 declares, he who is of a proud heart stirs up strife, but he who trusts in the Lord will be prospered. He who trusts in his own heart is a fool, but whoever walks wisely will be delivered. See, many people place their trust in their own righteousness and their own relative goodness. They think they will be saved just because others are worse. This ignores the consequences of sin. However, we're all sinners and can only be saved by the grace of God and on his terms. Paul sums it up in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 9 by saying, yes, we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God who raises the dead. There are many things we're not to trust in, too many to mention here, but I hope you will at least focus on the three that I've already shared with you today and ultimately place your complete trust in God. That's his lines. For Overlooked Headlines, I'm Jeff Bass, keeping you informed and inspired. Be blessed and trust in God.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you've been informed and inspired. Like us, tell a friend, and connect with us via Facebook, YouTube, or email us at neveroverlooked@gmail.com. That's neveroverlooked@gmail.com. Check us out next time on Overlooked Headlines with Jeff Bass.